Hi, welcome to the Journey Home Outreach Ministries online Bible study. I'm your presiding minister, Reverend Angela Faye McCarty, here to continue our fifth stop of the journey, World Peace. We're coming from the Journey Home, a collection of poems by Sister Poochie, which is also a Bible study guide. If you're interested in getting that, please go to the website www.sisterpoochie.com, and there's information about getting the book. But we're on the fifth stop of the journey anyway. What we're talking about at the fifth stop of the journey is living by the Spirit. And if we start living by the Spirit, we're automatically going to start bringing world peace, because that will start changing us one person at a time. But in living by the Spirit, there's certain characteristics. There's love, there's peace, there's joy, which we've gone over, and today we're going to go over patience. Now, this list that I'm giving you of about 8 or 9 characteristics that we're going to be following over the next couple of weeks is not easy for humans to follow. I'm not saying that tomorrow we can snap our fingers and start taking on Christ's characteristics, but it's something that we have to be aware of and start trying to do. And if you look at the list, there are some things that might be a little bit easier for some people, and there's some parts that might be harder for some people. Like for me, joy was easy for me. The conversation about joy, because I love the Lord and it brings me joy, and it's easy for me to get joyful and start rejoicing. But patience is something that doesn't come easy for me, personally. And it doesn't come easy for a lot of people. It's this demonstrated when we're on our roads and we're trying to get to work, and people are cutting each other off and cursing each other out, and not being polite, not being kind when you're on the L, going to work or coming home. You get to work and things don't go smoothly. People are not kind. And so that begins to show how impatient we are with each other. And I've been guilty of that. So what I have been doing, and what God has been working with me, and He will work with you just the same way, is making me more patient. Now, when I say patient, when it comes into the Bible, we're talking about having the patience to wait on God. Not having the patience to put a plan in action and see it to the end. Because when we start doing it ourselves is when our lives start becoming a mess and chaotic, and then God has to undo what we did and then try to give us the promises that He originally promised. There's a difference between believing in what God is saying and waiting on what God is saying. And waiting is the hard part. And He knows it's hard for us, but we have to be aware that we have no patience for even God. And that's a very strong statement if you when you say it out loud. When I just said it, it startled me. We have no patience for our God Almighty. Okay? He can do anything. Anything is possible through Him if we just wait long enough to let it happen. What happens is we start to panic and we start doubting in our own way the promises that God has made. Now, you might think, no, I never doubt God, but if you stop waiting on Him for something, you just give up because it's taking too long, so you don't think it's coming. You really don't think God is going to do this because it's just taken so long. It's hope deferred. And God said hope deferred makes a heart sick. All right? And that is found in Proverbs, the 13th chapter, the 12th verse. I'm going to read it for you. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Again, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Now, hope deferred, this means that you defer your hope. You take your hope and you put it aside. It's like having deferred interest on a credit card. They don't charge you the interest yet, but it's there. It's sitting on the side waiting to hit your card. So when you take your hope and you put it aside, it's going to make your heart sick. It's going to make trouble in your life. It's going to cause strife in your life. But longing, a longing fulfilled is like a tree of life, means that if you wait long enough and allow God to do what He says He's going to do, when He does it, it's the tree of life. It's going to be much more than you ever expected it to be if you just wait on His promises. Now, waiting is so hard, and there's instances in the Bible where He's had to deal with man on being patient. One of the instances starts all the way in the book of Genesis. Genesis 16th chapter, which it's an interesting story. There was a woman named Sarah, and she got tired of waiting for God. She took matters into her own hands. I suppose, being human, we'll be slow to blame her. She really had waited a long time and was getting older every day. So what was going on is Sarah was promised a son, and she was growing older every day, and she wasn't getting pregnant. Okay, so she got really impatient with God, and she decided to take matters into her own hand. And by doing this, what she decided to do was she was a maid. She had a maid that she wanted to be a surrogate mother, so she gave her maid to her husband so they could conceive. Okay. But once the maid conceived, Sarah began to resent the maid, of course, and things began to go horribly wrong. Sarah went to her husband and was blaming her husband for, bringing this on them. And her husband was like, do as you will with her. This is not something that, I thought of. This is something that you thought of. So Sarah decided to mistreat the maid, okay, and make her go away. And in making her go away, the maid, God saw the maid because she had ran off to herself. And God saw the maid, and God cared about the maid, and was asking her why was she here. And she said that Sarah, has run me off. I'm her maid, and God knew the whole story. God told her to go back and humble herself to Sarah, and the story continues on. It gets more interesting past that, and I encourage you to read that story, Genesis 16th chapter, because the problem with Sarah is she didn't allow God to give her the miracle that He promised, and He ends up giving her the miracle even after all of this. But the point in the story was she lost patience with the Lord, and in losing patience with the Lord, she actually messed up her own life and deferred her own blessings. So hope deferred makes a heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is like the tree of life. And that's what I want everyone to meditate on. And I'll see you next week so we continue the story of patience. And please read the story of Sarah. Okay, this is Angela McCarty, and I will see you back next Wednesday. Also, the radio show is still available online at the website. So you can check out the Saturday radio show as well as Bible study. But I'll see you next week, next Tuesday for Bible study, and everybody have a blessed week.